So it's pretty apparent at this point that Disney and its CEO Bob Iger really are beginning to lie to their core audience and exactly what the current state of Disney really is, blaming things on such as the weather, why there's less foot traffic over at the Disney parks, and even, of course, upselling Indiana Jones 5 and its box office results as of right now is also just going to show you that Bob Iger will say and do anything to keep Disney afloat. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into exactly what's going on with Bob Iger and Snow White 2024 starring actress Rachel Zegler. Now, you guys may or may not have known about Snow White, but this is basically going to be probably one of the biggest bombs of 2024 for the Disney company, and specifically what they have been going through lately with Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny, and more. Now, one thing about Snow White is that we know that this has been a long up-and-coming project, something that a lot of Disney fans have not been looking forward to, by the way, must I add. So we know that everything related to Bob Iger has not been going well so far. Given that everything related to the current state of Indiana Jones, the Star Wars franchise, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Bob Iger really is not in a good position regardless of him extending his contract until 2026. Same exact thing happened with Bob Chapek, by the way, where he extended his contract until 2020, at that point in time, like 2025, give or take. A whole 3 years later, leading into 26 essentially. So, interestingly enough, he's not here today. So that just goes to show you that same exact thing can happen and become a repeat cycle. So, on top of this, with Bob Iger recently getting very defensive about the statistics of foot traffic with the Disney parks and the latest Disney film flops, Bob Iger recently addressed the backlash for the up-and-coming Snow White film, slated for March of 2024, and even got on the subject of The Little Mermaid. Iger had to deliver the following: "Look, that is not our intention. We don't like to get involved in culture wars or creating fan division. In the case with our next big film, Snow White, for next year, we find nothing wrong with what we did in that film. It's not our intention to start any kind of divide between Disney fans or fans of the Snow White stories they grew up with. We see film studios exploring different iterations of different characters all the time, and this is no different. We feel that the color of one's skin has nothing to do with initiating culture wars and riling up an audience. We are not about that. We are here strictly for fan engagement and families to have a fun time in the theater. We had a great success with Little Mermaid, and though we did not hit our marks, so that gives us all the more reason to continue with what we are doing to very different iterations of these fan favorite characters." Now guys, let me just say one thing about Iger, is that he is obviously covering himself up and lying to everybody right now, and he's getting very defensive, getting very frustrated with what a lot of things have been going on with Disney, by the way, about how a lot of fans are pointing fingers at him for what happened with Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's beginning to get very, very, I guess you could say, short change of patience. And he is denying any kind of initiation of culture wars or anything like that. Now, look, we know that at the end of the day, this is all being done on purpose. This is all 110% a part of Disney's agenda. There's no way of saying it else. I mean, this is 100% an agenda-driven tactic for Snow White. And I don't know if you guys saw the latest Snow White leaked images, and if they are real, that is pure cringe. Those dwarves are barely dwarves, and they look like they're homeless people, and I don't know what to think about this. The way that they're trying to create a different iteration of Snow White and the dwarves is just ludicrous. It really is. It's absolute ludicrous, and I think it's going to be a worse situation than The Little Mermaid. Bob Iger may say that The Little Mermaid was a success, following by saying that we didn't hit our marks exactly. It just goes to show you that they expected a higher return for the box office but they didn't necessarily fail in their eyes, where in reality, it really was not a great hit, and it really wasn't a big success for Disney. Let's be honest about this. So on to the next thing. He goes on to elaborate further. It's also refreshing from an artistic standpoint, he's talking about Snow White, because it gives us, our filmmakers, different avenues to pursue different worlds. We may have not hit our main goal for Little Mermaid, but we have come to realize the general audience really loved it and didn't have an issue with Halle Bailey's performance. We have no intention to kickstart and have any concern about Rachel Zegler's performance as Snow White, and for those that do have an issue with that, really have no position to watch our content and are simply not fans of the properties that we expand in the cinema and for merchandise. We have grown frustrated to being blamed as starting these divisions purposely, and it impacts our creative teams involved in these upcoming releases. So you guys may or may not know about this too, about Bob Iger, but this is a guy that gets very defensive about his position as CEO. He knows that a lot of people are pointing fingers at him, not just fans, but also a lot of celebrities out there. You know, a lot of actors and actresses are pointing at him. By the way, of everything that's happening during the writer's strike and everything going on with SAG, he really kind of put himself in the position of being the face of all of that. But we know that Bob Iger is typically a liar. He always lies. He's no different than Kathleen Kennedy in a sense where he will literally say, and I mean this, he will say anything, and I mean absolutely anything, to really get people into the theater seats, to say that we're not creating any kind of division or that we have no agendas in play for our upcoming films. And when you look at things like The Little Mermaid, when you look at things like Snow White, it's so blatantly obvious that there is an agenda. Even with what's going on with the ACOLYTE 2, that's another prime example that it is literally a tactic to divide the audience. And we know that they know that a lot of people are very upset with Disney's efforts and how they are doubling down, they're losing money, and they just don't care. We know the shareholders are a very big play at all of this. The top shareholders and the board themselves are the core of the problem as well. So there's a lot of work at play here. Disney needs changing. Disney definitely needs to be transformed. And honestly, it has to go down to the ground before it can get any better. That's basically where it's heading right now, because obviously Iger has no intention of changing anything. They have already discussed a Little Mermaid sequel, and they want to just keep doubling down and doubling down year by year, and it's not going to work for them. So overall, the Snow White leaked images the other day, guys, I meant to talk about it on Twitter. It's just pure cringe. It's just typical Disney, and I'm not even giving them the benefit of the doubt, because Disney really deserves everything that they're getting. They really do. They're just asking for it at this point. So overall, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
Night